Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for some Old World Battle March. This is turn 3 in an ongoing game. I've been doing the battle report in sections, so each turn I'm putting out a new video. So if you want to see what happens in turn 1 and 2, you could go back and check it out on the channel. I don't have them yet in a playlist. I will group them up in a playlist to make it easier to find if you're interested. So this is turn 3. The dwarves are first. This is Axbite Pass, the Battle of Weisnicht Bridge. The battle began with a duel between two champions on the bridge. Right now you see orc boys standing on the bridge. They're chasing a group of warriors, dwarf warriors who fled a fight. Even though I sort of cheated, that was a mistake. I've been making a few mistakes, and you gotta excuse me, this is the first game of Old World I've played in quite a long time. So that's why it's good that I'm starting small with the Battle March. Battle March is a small scale, Old World. I guess, I don't know, I didn't count up the points to this because I used default lists from the compendium book. But they're between, I think, 500 and 700 points. So, and yeah, it doesn't give a total. It gives you the points for each unit, so I could add them up. Looks to be around 500 or 600 points. So a nice small scale game, and it's going pretty well. Right now, the dwarves have to begin their turn, first of all, by moving the foot of Gork, which has been moving around down on their side of the board down here. This is the foot of Gork. Goblin Odgit casted it in like turn 1, I think. Turn 1 or turn 2, and it's been moving around. It killed a few thunders so far. So I'm going to roll scatter and 2d6, see where that winds up. It's going to come off the board. I got to read about what happens when that scatters off the board like that. I wonder if the spell goes away. All right, the foot of Gork is removed from play. Scatters off the table. And now the next order of business is going to be to rally fleeing troops. It'll be the dwarf warriors running away from the orc mob behind them. I believe it's leadership 8, unless they are in range of their general. They are. So it'll be a 9. I rolled a 10, so they're going to keep running. All right, for the movement phase, the dwarf thunders reformed and stretched into one long rank there so that they could all fire. The gyrocopter flew over the river and alongside the orc mob on the bridge. The longbeards that were kind of in the river there just wheeled as much as they could, and they are not quite, I don't think they're quite able to see those units. I haven't used the measuring tool yet to check it out, but there they are. They're going to have to take some dangerous terrain tests. I'll do that now before I forget. There are 9 of them, so I'm looking for 2s and above. Looks like 3 of them die. Get caught in the current and taken down river. And finally, this other gyrocopter had to do a march move. It flew over the river and right here behind the Goblin Wolf Riders. So that won't be able to shoot this turn. However, moving into the shooting phase, the gyrocopter and the thunderers are going to be able to shoot. And I think they're both going to shoot at the same target. They can try to get these. Starting with the thunderers, there are 9 with handguns, shooting at long range, and they moved. So -2 modifier. They're hitting on 6s. Only 1 hit. Strength 4, toughness 4. It's a wound. And Goblin light armor shield gives them a 5 up. Actually, I think it's -1 AP for a handgun, but a 1 saves nothing, so 1 orc boy dies. I can arrange this template from the steam gun so that it hits every base in this orc boy unit. All right, so the steam gun hits 14 orcs. Strength 3 against their toughness 4. 5s to wound. I dropped 1. 5 wounds at -1 AP. So it's going to be saving on 6s for the orcs. 1 save, 4 die. Not a bad round of shooting for the dwarves. They have no fights. So that'll end their turn. We're going to go into Orcs and Goblins turn 3. Alright, to start the turn, I believe it's a conjuration spell that the Goblin Odgit has, so he'll try to cast Foot of Gork. He's still hiding in the woods back there. Problem is, it's going to be a 15-inch range, I think a 15-inch range spell. Camera doesn't want to zoom in on the Odgit. There he is. So I'm not sure. I guess I'll put it over towards the Longbeards if he casts it. He needs an 8 to cast Foot of Gork. He's going to want to put it 15 inches away from him, or up to 15 inches. He's going to try and put it somewhere right around there. But he miscasts with a double 1. Alright, on the miscast table, 2d6. 7. Careless Conjuration. The wizard pronounces a syllable, causing the spell to backfire, knocking them to the ground. The wizard suffers a single strength 4 hit with an AP of -1. So a strength 4 hit against his toughness of 3. A goblin couldn't be toughness 4. It's a wound at -1. I don't believe he even has a save. Although, let me check the Battle March list and see if they give me anything. They don't give the Odgit any weapons, so it's a hand weapon. So he takes a wound. Alright, the Orc mob on the bridge is impetuous. Has to pass a leadership test in order to not charge, but they want to fight. So they are going to charge the running dwarves that are in front of them. The same thing happens with the Goblin Wolf Riders. They are impetuous, but they choose to charge. They'll charge the same target. So the Wolf Riders are charging into the flank of the dwarves. And the final unit is the Orc Chariot. Now, I've got to look at the order of the way things are done, because the Chariot could possibly charge the Longbeards or the Gyrocopter because of its line of sight. You can see them both. You can see the Longbeards there. I actually don't even know if it could see through a unit. I think in the old world, the units block line of sight. So I don't think you can declare a charge at this point. I'll come back with the rules clarification, however. Okay, models and units absolutely block line of sight in the old world, so there'll be no charge from the Orc Board Chariot. So let me get to the dice roller and see about the charge distance for the Orc Boys and the Wolf Riders. Orc Boys charge roll. Discard the lowest, add 4 to their movement, which is a 4. Orc mob. So that's 8. That's plenty to get in base contact with the dwarves. However, the dwarves are fleeing, so they must flee. So I've got to roll 2d6 flee for the dwarves. It's a 9. I believe there is a loot, which is the rule that says it's -1 when they have to give up a position. 8. So they're not going to get run down by the orcs. Okay, so the warriors didn't get run down, but they did run off the table. They had an 8-inch flee move, and 7 inches, about 7.5 inches to the edge of the board, means they have run away. Still have to resolve these Goblin Wolf Riders. They charge the same unit. Charges are worked out in the order of the player's choosing. So I did move the Orc Boys first. Dwarves fled off the board, and now the Wolf Riders are going to move their full charge movement just forward. I haven't rolled their charge movement yet. Do that right now. All right, Wolves have a movement of 9 plus 4. They move 13 forward. Puts them right there, staring down the barrel of thunders. I'll go to Orcs and Goblins' remaining moves. Looking at the dangerous terrain rule, it seems like if that boar chariot sits in the river there, it doesn't have to test. I think that's what he'll do, because the Longbeards are probably not going to be able to charge him. They're too slow. And they don't care if the gyrocopter charges him. I think what the boar chariot really wants to do is charge those Longbeards next turn. And so it might as well just take one dangerous terrain test when it charges instead of maneuvering, risking wounds, and then waiting a turn to charge. So the Goblin Shaman really is the only other unit that hasn't moved, and he's just going to stay hidden back there in the forest. He hurt himself trying to cast a spell this turn. There's no shooting because the Goblin Wolf Rider is charged. They have short bows, so they can't shoot, and there's going to be no fights. So we're going into turn 4 next. All right, here's the battlefield starting turn 4. The Dwarf Warriors ran the fastest they ever have off the board, running away from those Orc boys. Meanwhile, the Longbeards are trapped on the other side of the river all by themselves, besides the little Oddgit that's in the forest. They're trying to wheel around to get back into the fight. I think the only real hope for the dwarves here is if Thunderers get their act together and start shooting accurately and killing greenskins. Last turn, this gyrocopter did 4 wounds and it killed 4 Orc boys, which wasn't bad. This gyrocopter here hasn't done a thing all game long, so he's flying around still trying to do something. And it is the dwarves' turn, so they have nothing to do in their strategy phase. And I guess I'll go right to movement and declare charges. I don't think they want to charge anything. The gyrocopters are going to want to shoot, and so are the Thunderers. So we'll go right to, well, I am going to have to move the gyrocopters. Let me do that. What may appear to be a very dangerous maneuver is what you're seeing here. Both gyrocopters are shooting across the flank of the same Orc boy unit. It's a steam gun, very short range. They're not going to shoot each other, don't worry about it. Those are the only moves. So shooting. Start with the Thunderers. Thunderers are going to take 9 shots at the Wolf Riders. This time they are going to have no penalties because they haven't moved. They are in short range. Actually, they are going to have 1 modifier, and that's going to be because the Goblin Wolf Riders are skirmishers. I don't have them in skirmish formation right now, but they do have that tag, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt there. So the Thunderers are hitting them on 5s. Only 2 hits, but they need 3s to wound. And they've got 2 wounds. At -1, there's no save against that. So 2 dead goblins. That'll be a panic test. Decent shooting by the Dwarf Thunderers, killing 2 of the Goblin Wolf Riders. They're here, and they are now down to below 50%. They have to take a panic test. They are next to their BSB. I'm going to double check what the BSB does for their leadership. I think in the old edition it let them reroll it, but their general is dead. He died with the with the boar riders, the Orc boar riders. So a goblin on a wolf, I believe, is 5, but there is still a champion, so he's got a 6. BSB does the same thing as it had. So rerolls to panic. In this case, it's going to be on a 6 for the Goblin champion in the Wolf Rider unit. Did it on his first try, he passed. All right, both gyrocopters, steam guns, will hit every model in the Orc unit. So I'll do the one on the left here first. It's going to go over 10 orcs. So 10 shots, automatically hit at strength 3 to the toughness 4. It will be 5s to wound. So looking for 5s. All right, 4 wounds at -1. Light armor shield is 5 up. It's going to go to a 6 up because it's AP -1. 4 dead. And that will be a panic test. There were 15 orc boys to begin, and there are only 6 remaining. So they're going to take a panic test here. An orc boy is leadership 6. They're going to use the character. Inside the unit there is a big boss. Orc big boss leadership is 7. He passes. Now for the other gyrocopter steam gun. Template now only hits 6 orcs. Should I, it's a template, so it hits everybody. So now I think now I should designate the BSB. He'll be the white die. And he's going to need a 6, so he's not wounded, but the 5s wound 2 other orcs. Light armor shield, -1 AP, they'll need 6s. So 1 more dies. Alright, so you only ever take 1 panic test per phase. So after the shooting phase, there are no fights. We'll go to the orc half of the 4th turn. There are no fleeing units, right? They passed. They passed. Everybody's good. The goblin Odgit could try to cast his spell again. I think he will try to cast the Foot of Gork over by the Longbeards. All right, on an 8 or better. He just missed it. Spell doesn't go off, but at least he didn't hurt himself this time. All right, now in the movement phase, I'm going to declare some charges. The Orc Boar Chariot will charge the Longbeards. Orc Boar Boy charge roll through dangerous terrain. Well, that's going to be a 7 plus 1 is 8. That's going to be enough to get into the charge, but I am going to have to roll a dangerous terrain. And they're safe. All right, there you see the charge completed. And now remaining moves. The Boar Boys can't see either of the gyrocopters. I think they're just going to they'll have to reform. They're going to reform towards the Thunders. And then I've got 2 Goblin Wolf Riders. They can move 9 inches on a wolf. They're just going to go over to the flank of the Thunders. And the Goblin Odgit, standing in the woods, is going to just hang out back in the woods. All right, in the shooting phase, I have 2 short bows going into Thunders. Goblin Wolf Rider ballistic skill is a 3. So they're hitting on 4s, but they moved. So -1 modifier, they're going to hit on 5s. They missed. All right, on to combat. Impact hits from the chariot. 4 chariots, d6 plus 1. You get 6 impact hits. It'll be 3s to wound. 5 wounds. The Longbeards only have heavy armor. They don't have shields. So 5 ups. Heavy armor is 5. They made 1 save, so 5 dead. It'll be a panic test. All right, all that's left of the unit of Longbeards is that Thane. He's the army general, and he needs to pass a panic test on leadership 9. He's good. Okay, so the crew on board the chariot attacks. I think I made a mistake earlier in the game. I think that any weapon gets to chop a special rule. It doesn't have to be a hand weapon. So even though they carry cavalry spears, they're going to benefit from the chopper rule. Anyway, the weapon skill is a 3, and the Thane, I think, is a 5. So 4 is to hit. They missed. And the boars? The boars hit. And it's a Tusker charge, which means the boar strength goes to 4. Their strength 4, toughness 5 is a 5 plus. 4 doesn't wound. So those are the orc attacks. Now the Thane will fight back. He only has a hand weapon, and he has 3 attacks. He's hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Strength 4 against the chariot, toughness 5. Needs 5s to wound. No wounds. So let's work out the combat resolution. Alright, so for combat resolution we've got 5 wounds done by the orcs. They have no rank bonus, but they do have a flank, so that's another +1. And they have no standards, no high ground. So they have a 6. And the Thane has, well, the Thane has nothing. The Oathstone lets the unit that the Thane is in automatically pass panic checks, which I'm pretty sure I took a panic test with them earlier in the game, so that was a mistake. Although they passed it, so no harm done. It also makes it so that you can't refuse a challenge issued by the Thane standing on the stone, but that's not going to come into play here because this is a break test, and he needs a 3 to hang around. And you get a 4, so he's going to run, and the chariot will pursue. All right, so the flee roll is going to be at a -1. He went 7. The chariot tries to run him down and does it with an 8. So the Thane is dead. All right, and that is the end of turn 4. There will be 1 turn left to play. But there's been a lot of death and despair in this past turn and a half. We'll see what happens in the last turn. I'll be back.